It's Friday. You know what that means.
Yeah,
Welcome, everyone, to episode 350 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the Brainless One. And I'm going to tell you right now, Jay, I saw something in wrestling this week that I really feel like I shouldn't be the Brainless One. It is the worst booking decision you could possibly do. Okay?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna I'm this is how I want to start the podcast this week. I am sorry that this is how I want to start, but this is exactly how I want to start. Kazuchika Okada becomes the biggest available free agent in at this point into the history of professional wrestling since at least Hulk Hogan when he jumped from WWF to WCW. He has been said to be the New Japan's John Cena. Negotiates with both WWE and with AEW. He ends up signing with AEW. Fine. Okay. I would have loved to have seen Okada in, WWE because matches with him and Rollins and Nakamura and Styles and you name it. And, it's pretty much you'd love to see, you'd like to see Okada wrestle everybody up to Omos for crying out loud. Yeah. But, he goes to AEW. I get it because he worked with a bunch of those guys in Japan, because Jay White's in AEW and Ospreay's in AEW. I get that and everything.
Kenny kind of sort of in AEW.
He debuts finally on Wednesday. Now, I get it. You want to be a heel. I get it. You want to do something that people aren't expecting. So the Rainmaker debuts as a heel. So as any intelligent man, short of Hacksaw Jim Duggan, would tell you that if you want to get immediate heat in AEW, you go after one of two or three people, and one of them happens to be Eddie Kingston. And that's what Okada did. He went after Eddie Kingston, but in the process, he aligned himself with the two guys that you really right now, outside of the backstage area, or even the backstage area, and just within everybody in the internet wrestling community, the last two guys you really want to associate yourself with in AEW are the EVPs. I'm sorry. Because a lot of the issues, if you look at it, are from them and their, cronies that, they hang out with, the guys that like to do flippy shits. And I'll get into that, too. Oh, I can't wait to get into that shit, too. Because I'll tell you right now, they dominated my bad and my brainless this week. It's not even close. What is it now? I didn't even write down the number. I'm sorry. 8 weeks in a row.
There, in my view, were a lot of bad and brainless things that happened this week that were high up there on the list.
Well, that's cool.
Very high up there on the list. And it's too bad this week we had to cut it off at a couple. But also on the same vein, there was a lot of really good stuff that I enjoyed this week. Since we did the show last, Friday, there were plenty of things I enjoyed an awful lot in pro wrestling. By the way, Chris Brown saying Okada making $4.5 million a year over the life of the deal. I've heard conflicting reports. I've heard one that said that it's not that high. It's a big number, but not that high. I mean, that's like, I think more of a base salary than like Brock or Cena were making at their peak. Like Cena and Brock made more than that in a year, but it was because of merchandising and bonuses and stuff like that.
Merchandising. I just think that's just, and that was the other thing I was going to get into, is not only the fact that he debuted and aligned with the douchebags, and then they kicked their other douchebag friend out. So now I hate Kenny Omega less, and I can't believe I'm saying this, because I know this is going to kayfabe lead to Kenny Omega, fighting Okada with the finger poke of doom again, and then I'm going to vomit all over myself, and I'm not going to hate for human beings like I hate those four. But the fact is, you're aligning with the EVPs. That is not a good look. I understand that when you were in Impact Wrestling, that it was the Young Fucks and the Motor City Machine Guns that took you under their wing and made you feel like one of the guys when you were there. So you leaned on those guys. Doesn't mean you should do it now. I would have listened to Nakamura and AJ Styles, especially AJ Styles, now that he looks like he could rip a phone book in half.
Right.
But I couldn't believe when I saw that, because I saw Okada debut. I said, oh, okay, that's fine. Great. Don't care. I'm not going to watch it anyway, so who gives a shit? And then I saw he aligned with those douchebags.
Yeah.
I just
But let it out, Brainless One. Let it all out.
Why?
You can't hold this.
I can't. I can't, Jay. I just can't. It's unbelievable. You are, with the amount of money, whether it's $4.5 million or something slightly below $4.5 million or whatever the hell the amount of money is, if you're gonna pay this guy like a main eventer and the only guy on the roster who's making more than Okada, if that figure is correct, is Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, how long is it going to take for them to put the title on Okada? Because if he's not with the championship by next Wednesday, it's taken them too long. Number two, how long until he regrets signing because he's not going to be used or utilized, or he's going to be going up against Ray Phoenix in 6 weeks? And my
he has not had his match with Marco Stunt yet, right?
No, he has not fought two local competitors or Marco Stunt. But he is.
Chris Brown saying he gives them until June to make it happen. I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going to say it's going to be all in at Wembley Stadium.
And number three, how long until Okada jobs out to Chris Jericho?
I don't know, but one person associated with Chris Jericho I'd like to know about missing in action. Where's Jake Hager? Remember when he signed, yeah, they're going to give me this opportunity to be a top-line superstar. Yeah, he's lined up with Wardlow and Dino Man and any big guy in AEW right now.
Dino Man. Powerhouse Hobbs. I can tell you exactly where Jake Hager is, though, Cousin Jay. He is backstage looking for his hat.
True.
It's either that or he's looking for Dutch Mantle to take him back to WWE. Because
right.
as we're starting to see, especially with Cody Rhodes, we're going to start seeing it with Jay Cargill soon enough. We're going to see it with Lexis King. We're going to see it with Sean Spears. And we're going to see it after MJF comes out at the end of night 2 to confront Cody Rhodes after he beats Roman Reigns in the Tribal Rules match, which we'll get into that in a bit. And he's going to find out that the grass is greener on the other side. That's where it is. I'm sorry. The grass isn't always greener on the other side unless you were friends with Kenny and the Bucks.
Kenny in the Bucks. Talk about Miro here. Miro apparently was one of the people that was supposed to be in
the Meat Shield match.
The Meat Shield match. And more or less Miro's like, well, that's news to me. Oh, by the way, I've been injured and I had surgery in January. And then he sarcastically put what was it? Apparently he didn't know I was injured. Apparently he didn't know.
Yeah, that's good when the promote. That's
honestly, what I think he's saying here is Tony Khan is full of shit. He knew I was injured. Why is he putting my name out there? I think that's what that tweet was all about. But
it's Jay, not knowing that one of your wrestlers is injured as the owner, promoter, booker, all that shit for a wrestling promotion is like being the president of the United States and not knowing where your Secretary of Defense is for a week.
Or not knowing whether it's Tuesday or Pluto.
Correct. It is not good. If you are promoting Miro, I mean, look at Aleister Black. They made a big deal about it. How they said Aleister Black didn't have a singles match in AEW in 600 days. So they put him in a random match on like Ring of Honor against a bounty hunter guy, and he beat him. And they celebrated it. Oh yes, look, Aleister Black won his first singles match in 600 days.
Yeah.
Like just let the man go back to WWE. Let Miro go back to WWE. You're not doing anything. Look at Andrade. The crowd went mild when he came out on Monday. And he's even happier because you know why? Because he's not wrestling in front of a crowd at a bingo hall in AEW. Watching Jon Moxley bleed every match he's in. The grass isn't always green on the other side. You can't see it because they're super kicking it and sticking their fingers in it.
Yeah.
We're gonna start to see it. I'm telling you, you're gonna see a lot more people because like nobody thought Shawn Spears was gonna leave. What happens when Goldust returns?
That'll be great.
I mean, yes, that would be great. It's just the biggest one. How the tide is going to turn in all of this is what happens with MJF because he is the ultimate wild card.
Oh, I thought you were going to say QT Marshall. Yeah.
You might as well just keep the Brainless One rants on the screen because I'm just going to do it the entire episode if you're going to keep mentioning people like QT Marshall. QT Marshall. And which is funny because there was a wrestling database. I was trying to find his matches that he was in, all 4 of them in WWE. But for whatever reason, he did not come up in my search. Every single time I searched QT Marshall, I searched QT, I searched Q, I searched Marshall, I searched every possible thing. I searched douchebag. And the only person that came up was Kenny Omega. So I don't know what to tell you. I tried. Maybe I'll hopefully for next week's episode, or I'll just post it when I find it. All 4 matches that QT Marshall had in WWE to be considered a former WWE star. Because you got to do a hell of a lot more than getting Gronk spiked by Braun Strowman to be a star. And any man with 2 hands and a fighting chance would tell you that.
James Ellsworth is more of a former WWE star than QT Marshall.
James Ellsworth is no better than Andy Dufresne because that man literally crawled through 300 yards of shit and came out smelling like a rose after getting Gronk spiked. The poor guy hasn't seen his chin since his chin hit the mat in the match. Wait, he didn't have a chin before the match started? Oh.
Wait.
Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's James Ellsworth is the prime definition of overachieving. That's all I'm going to say.
And now he works for a catering company, I hear. I hear also that it is not one that, Cassius Ohno frequents.
Are we sure about this?
Not 100% sure. It is not verified, but we could take a look, definitely. So Doug in the chat mentioned about former Tough Enough competitor Daniel Rodimer, who also has run for Congress several times. He is charged with murder. I don't know if you saw that story, Brainless One.
Actually, the wife had mentioned it to me before the podcast that had happened. And she said the guy's name at least 7 or 8 times. And I looked at her the same way the dog looks at me when I ask her if she has to go to the bathroom. So,
he was in the same class with Miz on Tough Enough. And I forget who the other, there's another person that was in that class that, you would recognize. But, it seems pretty clear this dude has some mental health issues that he's dealing with. He tried running for Congress several times in Nevada. Then out of the blue, he decided to run for Congress in Texas. And, just didn't get much support. But it's anybody who's trying that hard, you got something going on up there. You're a little bit crazy, and I don't know all the facts of the case, but it sounds like this dude just needs help.
The worst part is this is the second case we're having of a former wrestler being charged with murder, because we just had Billy Jack Haynes get nailed for murdering his wife not too long ago.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's definitely the brain is just an injury that is sustained too much in wrestling, especially during the golden era when chair shots were a lot more unprotected. That was especially during the Attitude Era where the chair shots were more unprotected. I pray every night for that man to live the best life he possibly can, because Mick Foley is an absolute treasure, and every day he is on this planet is a good day for this planet.
Yeah.
But it's just not good because, obviously you have, the Canadian Voldemort, and now, now we have Billy Jack Haynes, who's going to be in that
Portland, Oregon Voldemort.
The Portland, Oregon Voldemort, and, the Rudy Rudiger Voldemort that we have, because I'm not going to remember his name. But This is now 3 different cases. I know they're a little bit spread out, but this is 2 cases now where a guy went and killed somebody, and it's possible that, he had mental health issues.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
And there was another case with mental health issues that we got a little bit more information on, was Ashley Mazzaro. There were new documents that kind of talked about what happened to her while they were over doing the tribute with the troops, and it's just, the whole thing's just sad.
Disgusting.
I remember there was a point in time, it was after she was gone from WWE, and there was I think it was a fake Stephanie McMahon account that talked about trying to get her back into the company. And she was like, "Oh, you really want me back?" And it was like, wasn't a real account. And I mean, it was just a troll job. And it's like when somebody who's already dealing with addiction issues, dealing with mental health issues, and you find out, oh, somebody's screwing with me. And then, taking it a couple of steps further, and, she ends up killing herself in 2019, nobody should have to deal with that at a workplace, what she dealt with.
No. Especially in considering the circumstances of what they were doing and where they were at when those events were happening at her place of employment.
Yeah.
Because you would think that of all places, you would feel the safest on a naval or on a military base.
But clearly not the case. Speaking of sexual predators,
there's a bunch of different avenues you can go here.
Voldemort, WWE Voldemort cashes out over $400 million worth of stock.
Wrong. You said it wrong, Cousin Jay. It's the dastardly Voldemort. We get to call him the dastardly Voldemort so that we could do the dastardly laugh and I could stroke my mustache like Dick Dastardly. Yes, that is a significant amount of money. What does that leave him with? Like something just under like 10% of stock that he has left?
Yeah, I think he's got like 9% left. Clearly he doesn't have enough power at this point to swoop back in and put himself back into place in WWE. So he's going to cash out and live the best life he can. And maybe he just maybe that's his money that he owes to Satan for all the money and power that he's gotten in his life.
Are you mentioning the real Satan Or are we
Yes,
talking
the real
about,
Satan.
or are we talking about Satan as in Jerry McDevitt?
We're not talking about Jerry McDevitt at this point, although I'm halfway convinced Jerry McDevitt may be possessed by Satan, just like Judas was.
I'll tell you who the devil is. It's Ned Ryerson. Needle Nose Ned, Ned the Head.
Case Western High, buddy.
Ding!
So it's good to see that the sane, the dastardly Voldemort, the Sting, is slowly but surely leaving WWE, and I hope we never hear of him or from him again.
To the point where in the WWE 2K24 game, because all of the allegations came out when they did so far into production that unlike AEW, where they delay their video game for 3.5 decades, WWE just let the game out and they blurred Vince McMahon in every cutscene that they had. I'm sorry, the dastardly Voldemort himself from every so that he is out of every, scene during like career mode and stuff like that, and every like video package that they have, he's blurred out. You also cannot play as Brock Lesnar, which right there in its own right makes me not want to play the video game, because the only wrestler in any wrestling video game over the last decade that was ever worth playing as was Brock Lesnar. I don't care what anybody says. You could tell me, you could sit here and argue any other wrestler.
Wait. Are you saying Sheamus wasn't worth playing at?
It was fun using Sheamus because I could bro kick people to, all over the ring. But there was just something about taking people to Suplex City. I don't know what it is. It's just more fun. Brock Lesnar in these WWE video games is the closest thing we've gotten to Bo Jackson and Super Tecmo Bowl.
Speaking of Sheamus, where is he?
He's not in that gauntlet match. They're doing a 6-man gauntlet match on Monday Night Raw, and he is not in it. Why the fuck is Funko Head McDonough in this match and not the GOAT? That's what they got to do. They just got to get Funko Head out of the match and have him replaced. They got to figure out a way to get Sheamus in this match.
It sounds like Sheamus has been kind of ready to go with his shoulder for quite some time. What is the holdup? As the man tweeted or X'd or whatever the heck it's called these days, he was like, match of the year 2021, match of the year 2022, match of the year 2023. Where is he? Bring him the hell back if he is healthy.
Why are you asking me? I've been waiting. I've been anticipating his return. I've been waiting. They owe me the super undisputed Grand Slam champion. I need this. I need the guy with the Grand Slam titles, with the Royal Rumble and the Money in the Bank and the King of the Ring. He is the super Grand Slam.
Are they recording his song?
Can they give us his old song back?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Are they remixing his old song?
No, I don't want to.
They aren't getting it quite right. Remember how they kept on with Roman Reigns having the gunner, and he's like, hey, they're working on new music, and when it's right, it'll debut, so I can take 30 minutes to get to the ring every time.
They just got to give me what I want. Give me what I want. Give me Sheamus as Intercontinental Champion. I am Dave Bautista asking for the match against Triple H at WrestleMania. Give me what I want. I want Sheamus as Intercontinental Champion. That's all I want. Just give me what I want. Okay? That's it. You didn't even give me Pete. You gave me Pete Dunne back, but you didn't give me Pete Dunne's music back. You just gave me some bullshit generic version of his old song. That was just
his dad came back.
I popped so hard on Tuesday when I saw Regal come out. I was so, and him and Charlie Dempsey having that. There's nobody in the wrestling business that respects the wrestling business more than William Regal. I'm telling you right now.
Like, literally came from Carney roots, not like Kizarny did.
Yes. It's incredible. Did you hear that pop? Did you hear the reaction the fans gave? It was incredible.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they're trying to bring relevance to the Heritage Cup. And now that Charlie Dempsey and what's his face's brother and Drew Gulach are all in this stable together. It's the second worst stable next to the one that Noam Dar. Who?
QTV.
Oh, I was talking about NXT because they have one with Noam Dar. With no Alicia Fox. But he's got like Lash Legend, who, by the way, she's going to be a star. And a couple other people that I could really give two shits about. But yeah, I liked having Regal down there. It's great to see him back on television. I'm curious if we're going to see him more in NXT. Are we going to see him more maybe on Raw or SmackDown? What is Regal going to do? Regal. Obviously Regal is very important to the company. That's why he came back after a year. Even he saw that the grass wasn't greener on the other side.
Well, he needed a job after he was let go, so good for him. He was let go because he was in close ties with Triple H, and that was when Vince was trying to eradicate WWE of Triple H and all the people that were associated with him.
I love the fact that I scratched my nose and it gave you a thumbs up.
Ho!
USA! USA!
Yeah.
He was. I heard that man was an intelligent man, Cousin Jay.
Highly intelligent.
Highly intelligent.
So, we were getting into some of the stuff, the crappy stuff that people have done professional wrestling-wise. Another name I want to bring up that has done crappy things professional wrestling-wise, BJ Whitmer.
Damn it.
You got off soft, just like Jeff Hardy did all the times with various things, but like his most recent thing where they took his license away, but like more should have happened. More should have happened. So
yeah, Jeff Hardy ran over Elias with his truck.
Right.
And Elias
BJ Whitmer sentenced to 5 years probation and 120 days at home incarceration for strangling and assaulting his ex-girlfriend. More or less, you get to stay at home for 120 days. And you're on probation for 5 years. You strangled and assaulted somebody. What in the ever-blazing hell is going on out there?
I swear, he must have had the same judge that Sunny had up until the last time she went to court. Because that's the ultimate slap on the wrist. Are you serious? Stay home for 120 days and see you later? That's it? No jail time?
Strangling and assaulting. Strangling and assaulting. As much as I have compassion for people who have a true heart of repentance for the shit they've done, I don't get that from Whitmer here. It feels like he's getting off really, really cheap on doing something really, really shitty.
That's basically the definition of a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Assault and choking somebody, and you get 180 days of house arrest? Like I said, was it the same judge that Sunny had for all the other cases until her last one? Was it the same judge
that Jeff Harvey has had for a whole bunch of them?
Wow, that one gave a thumbs down. Yeah, see? Yeah, it is a thumbs down. This is some bullshit. This is just ridiculous. I'm disgusted.
And while we're talking about Jeff Harvey, Sammy Guevara it almost feels possibly this week Tony Khan has grown some. He suspended Sammy Guevara. Not only did he suspend Sammy Guevara, he fired Kevin Kelly. There are actual consequences in AEW and Ring of Honor. Sometimes.
May I summon, since you mentioned his name, may I summon the wrestling encyclopedia in this situation? Because I saw something because I saw that yesterday. I think it was yesterday or this morning with the Kevin Kelly thing. And somebody had posted it. And they said former WWE personality. And I said, wait. That could be anybody. Because former WWE personality could have been somebody who was let go from WWE as recently as Charlie Caruso in Coach, and somebody who was let go around the time of, let's say Todd Pettengill.
Right.
Who haven't been around in WWE since the time of forever. Cousin Jay, when do you recollect the last time you remember Kevin Kelly being associated with WWE?
A very long time ago. I think The Rock was still in the company, like, as a full-time performer.
Yes.
When Kevin Kelly was there. Like, at this point, he is more known in the wrestling community as, like, the Ring of Honor dude. When Ring of Honor... Heck, I'd say he was...
Ian Riccaboni.
Yeah. But, like, he was the Ring of Honor commentator for quite a while, and he's been in and out with Ring of Honor. And the thing with him and Ian Riccaboni is it sounds like, at least up until the last year, they've been pretty tight in helping each other get jobs. Whether it was like Kevin Kelly helping him, Riccaboni, get in with New Japan, or whether it was Riccaboni helping Kevin Kelly get into AEW. It seemed like they had a good enough working relationship, and then all of a sudden it's like Kevin Kelly went a little cuckoo on Twitter in the last week and got his ass canned.
Now, how cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs was he? Was he Disco Inferno or was he Val Venus? Because Disco Inferno is crazy, but he's still mentally competent. Val Venus has lost his goddamn fucking mind.
Right.
What did he?
I'd say somewhere in between the two of them. Like, it feels like Kevin Kelly kind of sort of latches on to some conspiracy theories. Not going to say all of them, but Ian Riccaboni more or less has compared him to QAnon and saying that he's getting his stuff from that. QAnon, definitely very fringe. I don't know if Kevin Kelly is that far, but clearly that there's a difference of political persuasion between the two of them.
Right.
And the overriding narrative out there is Kevin Kelly is a bit too far on the QAnon crazy list. Chris Brown saying he believes he's closer to Val Venus.
Wow. I have to see what these tweets are because I heard he got fired and I heard it was because of stuff he was posting online, but I didn't get the chance to go see what it was that he was.
He more or less said that Ian Riccaboni was libeling him and kind of labeling him as a conspiracy theorist, crazy person, where Kevin Kelly was trying to say, hey, man, I'm just trying to put out there that sex trafficking is a terrible thing and that it's something we really should pay attention to. I think he's looking at his own thoughts through rose-colored glasses, and maybe he's a little bit cuckoo, but I think he and Riccaboni are on way different spectrums of the political axle. And as much as I think they probably had enough respect for each other and helped each other, like Riccaboni helped Kevin Kelly, but in general, Kevin Kelly was the one who helped Riccaboni get his foot in the door and mentored him forward. But when you have people who have divergent opinions on political issues and what have you, like, there will be tension there, and somebody's going to get pissed off at some point, and clearly at some point in the last few months, they've had enough of each other. Even though they've worked together professionally for several years and have recommended each other to other companies for several years. So
I don't even think commending Tony Khan for growing a set and firing Tony Khan for firing Kevin Kelly should even be warranted in this situation, because it probably wasn't even him. It was just, we should just be thankful that somebody in AEW had the mental wherewithal to know that this shit was happening so that they could go in there and fix this issue.
Yeah.
If you're going to be the one going out there and posting this shit, you can't be here. You got to go. See you later. I highly doubt it was Tony Khan. My guess is he was face full of fucking cocaine when Mega came in and told him, yeah, you got to get rid of him. Okay. Hey, thanks, guys. I have to get rid of you, Kevin Kelly, because you're posting shit about Quinging on the Twitters, and that's not good. And this week on Dynamite, we're going to be getting Jon Moxley versus Rey Fenix for the 8 millionth and 6th time. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
But and you mentioned Sammy Guevara, and you wanted to give him high praise for that. How long ago was that?
It happened, what was it, on the 14th of
July.
February.
February 14th. It is, what is today? The 7th? The 8th? What's the 8th? The 8th?
So it was a couple days ago. He finally suspended him. The fact that he finally grew a set and didn't say, like, oh, it's okay. And even so, it wasn't because he botched the move. And oh, by the way, why does he keep botching moves on the Hardys?
I can't explain that. Maybe he's intimidated by Matt Hardy because he heard Matt can slam a tornado.
Perhaps.
Or he'll just get deleted.
But apparently there's a protocol when things happen in a matchup, whether it's the referee or whether it's a doctor. Yeah, it's not Dick Fox.
Dick Knox.
Dick Knox. I apologize, Dick Knox. You know, apparently there's a protocol, though, when certain things happen, they're supposed to, like, decide whether or not to continue a match. There should have been a physician or somebody near the ring to be like, hey, stop this. We don't know how bad this is. Sammy Guevara, I think, in an attempt to be professional and like, hey, we got to pretend like nothing has happened. We got to keep going on.
Oh yeah, that's exactly.
Nobody stopped him. Oh, by the way, again, why does it keep happening to the Hardys? But I don't think he's injured anybody else. I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, he injured his face when Andrade punched him.
Right.
And when Eddie Kingston punched him.
Yeah.
And he hurts the Hardys.
So, as much as I think Jeff should just be retired.
Yep.
As much as the person who clearly sees him as a protege and mentor, Darby Allin, should stop doing the shit that Jeff used to do. Doing the shooting star press and kneeing a dude in the nose and breaking his nose. And oh, by the way, it sounds like it's going to be a long road back for Jeff because it sounds like he's going to need surgery on the nose to make it so he could actually, breathe correctly through that. And I know Tony Khan, with his penchant for certain things, knows how important the nose is. And maybe that's why Sammy Guevara has been suspended. He knows how important the nose is to supplying freedom to you.
Almost a month ago, and the dude gets suspended now. CM Punk got fired faster from AEW than Sammy Guevara got suspended. The Punk and the EVPs got suspended a hell of a lot quicker for fighting backstage than Sammy Guevara did for not listening to referees' orders and trying to take matters into his own hands. Injuring a Hardy for the second time. A different Hardy for the second time. He shouldn't be suspended. He should be fired. I don't give a fuck.
The third time, because didn't it happen to Matt twice?
I want to say, I know he threw I'll never get
He threw the chair at him.
I
think there was another time after that with Matt.
There might have been one other time.
Part of the reason why both Jeff and Matt were freaking pissed off like crazy at the end of the match.
My question to you is, because we're on the topic of the Hardys, and speedy recovery to Jeff. I can't wait to see you come back from your broken nose so that you're diving off of 47-foot ladders onto a car. But Matt Hardy, apparently his contract is up next month. Do you think if his contract expires and Tony Khan's like, yeah, you're thanks, Matt. The polite way of saying this is that you're just kind of washed up and a has-been and broken down after taking bump after bump after bump for the last 20, 30 years. Maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't have slammed so many tornadoes.
Yeah?
I am going to delete you from the AEW roster. Is there
Quite
any
honestly, at this point, Matt Hardy probably should be a coach in NXT.
At the Performance Center?
Yeah.
Because who wouldn't love to have an exchange between Matt Hardy and R-Truth? You're the next show. You're going to be the next HBK.
Broken Matt Hardy and R-Truth.
The only thing that could even come close to that Shawn Michaels R-Truth exchange last week is how the fact that Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano are doing their Bobby Roode bombs on the main roster and still playing the Bobby Roode music every time they see him. Glorious. I wanna win till I'm victorious.
Yeah.
Until the end. Boo.
Jessica, hello. Thank you for tuning in once again.
Jessica, hello. Jessica, hello.
Hello.
Seinfeld reference, if anybody gets it.
So, WWE is starting to right some wrongs with the Hall of Fame. We will finally, Mike Rotunda is going to get his due. As part of the U.S. Express, he should get it on his own as IRS and or Michael Wall Street, who is part of Clash of the Champions 13, by the way.
Yes, he was.
As Michael Wall Street. Thank you very much. But he is finally going to get his Hall of Fame induction. It's sad that it took all this time. It's sad that in part, it feels like it's because his son died.
I don't think it's that.
I hope it's not that. But like, what took them so damn long? That the dude was a tag team champion multiple times, far above the Coco Beware, Nikolai Volkov, and Great Khali line. Why?
Jay,
I know Vince. I'm sorry. Dastardly redacted.
Jay, when they announced Paul Heyman as the first, person, the inductee for the Hall of Fame, I was like, okay, yeah, they're gonna have to do it because it's Philadelphia. It's Paul Heyman. So now we get to play the game of speculating who's going to be inducting Paul Heyman into Hall of Fame and whether or not he's going to mention or be able to mention Brock Lesnar in his Hall of Fame speech. So we're like, okay, cool, it's Paul Heyman. He deserves to be in there. And then they dropped the bombshell on Wednesday and said, Bull Nakano. You had two women that basically made up the entire women's division in WWF in the 1990s. Medusa / Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano. I mean, you had Bertha Faye too, but I try to remember, I try to forget about Bertha Faye just as much as I try to forget about Bastion Booger. Bull Nakano has been, you want to talk about somebody well-deserving of being in the WWE Hall of Fame. That is somebody who is well-deserving of being in the WWE Hall of Fame. She is arguably the greatest Japanese women's wrestler of all time and is considered one of the actual great Japanese wrestlers of all time. This was an absolute slam dunk. And it got me excited for the Hall of Fame, Jay, because of the fact that Bull Nakano's going in. You're going to get the American Express in, so now Mike Rotunda finally gets
US
in.
Express.
That's what I meant. The U.S. Express.
American Express is a credit card.
I wouldn't know. I don't.
All right, I might need to reconfigure my Brainless this week.
No, you're not going to give me Brainless over what they did with anything in wrestling because I got American Express and the U.S. Express mixed up.
They were real Americans, brother.
If Good, Bad, and Brainless was around when you told me, and I quote, you got to watch this match, PN News falls off the scaffolding and falls through the ring, and I fell for it, and you want to give that the Brainless that week? Yes, that would have been worth it. But you're not going to get me because I made a slight error in naming when you should just be thankful that I even remembered Barry Windham.
Barry Windham already in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
He's in the Hall of Fame twice before Rick Martel gets in once.
Very sad. I mean, it's not beyond the possibility that we get Rick Martel, but even so, like it feels, I guess, like Paul Heyman is the main event for this. Clearly, he could talk anybody into the building. It'll be great. But as far as a wrestling legend getting into the Hall of Fame, like, is there going to be somebody like Batista that gets in? Are they going to announce The Rock for the Hall of Fame? Is there going to be somebody like that who is an in-ring performer? I guess we'll see. I mean, again, Heyman could talk anybody into the seats, I think. Chris Brown in the chat, by the way, talking about who could induct Heyman into the Hall of Fame. He believes it's going to be Foley or Tommy Dreamer. I don't think Dreamer is still a contracted performer for TNA.
I don't
think it'll be Dreamer. I think, and I told Chris this in a message, I think it's Foley or CM Punk.
Steve Austin.
I wouldn't be upset about Steve Austin inducting him.
What they should have done, and it's a shame that all this crap, got fucked up. And if they could find a way to maybe clear Brock Lesnar of all this stuff, is just have the different Paul Heyman guys, induct him at the same time. Like you have CM Punk start, and then you have Brock Lesnar come in there and talk, and then Roman Reigns comes in there and talks, and They all just explain how meaningful Paul Heyman has been to their careers and everything like that. And if you can't do that, dig up Balls Mahoney.
Yeah.
Or no, they can have Sabu induct them. Jeez Louise. I mean, honestly, like if you think about it, like when it comes to ECW and Paul Heyman, the first name you think of is the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam. But I'm pretty sure that he's worried about his bong on a pole match that he's going to have with Matt Riddle on 420.
Yes.
And if they don't give me that, there you go, Tony Khan. If you're watching the F and Marks podcast, that's the only way you could bring the Brainless One back to being an AEW fan. You give me RVD versus Matt Riddle on some kind of marijuana paraphernalia on a pole match that's just as awful as the Julie Bagwell on a forklift match. And I will be sucked right back in. Just follow it up with Danhausen if you really want to take it home.
Yeah.
Yeah? But I'm just curious because now, that's a good point, Jay. Because they do kind of need that marquee name because they did the same thing 11 years ago when they were like, yeah, we like Mick Foley, and I love Mick Foley, and he's a headliner in my eyes, and so is Mr. Bob Backlund. When they both got inducted in New York right before WrestleMania 29, but that's when they got Bruno Sammartino. And you can't, and I'm going to repeat this, no disrespect to anybody else in the wrestling industry, you are not getting a bigger name than Bruno Sammartino to enter a Wrestling Hall of Fame. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care that Hulk Hogan once wrestled 400 days in a single year, brother. I don't care that Hulk Hogan was the only person to ever body slam 700-pound Andre the Giant when he did it at WrestleMania 3, tearing all the ligaments in his back, and ultimately the Giant succumbed to the slam 9 days later. I don't care that
Hulk Hogan succumbed to the slam 9 days later. Hulk Hogan almost became the next John Wayne.
I don't care that Hulk Hogan did that song for the kid with the very distinct odor from England and then brought Simon Cowell to the United States with the Bee Gees and Brutus Beefcake and Jimmy Hart. And they
almost became the bass player for Metallica.
I don't care that John Cena hustled loyalty and respected his way to the top because I can't see him. At the end of the day, in the history of the business, there is not, nor ever will be, a bigger name than Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for somebody like that, Dave Bautista would be an incredible headliner. You know, honest to goodness, oh geez, who? I mean, is Lex Luger enough of a big name that you can bring in as a headliner to be with Paul Heyman and Bull Nakano?
I don't think so. And I know with Luger, you know, he more or less at this point he's kind of confined to a wheelchair, but he said, if they put me into the WWE Hall of Fame, I will figure out a way to walk to the stage and stand up for myself. And Luger was actually at Sting's retirement match. And honestly, this brought forth a couple of interesting things for me. Luger is currently under a WWE Legends contract.
Yep.
WWE said it is completely fine for you to go. We don't want to see you on camera at this event. You could go, though. The same thing can't be necessarily said for Kevin Nash. Sting wanted Nash to be at his final match, and Nash wasn't there, and saying more or less that WWE kind of said no to him. Why would they say yes to Luger and no to Nash?
Because of the fact that, you know, Kevin Nash is good friends with Triple H, so it wouldn't look good on that dynamic. I know that Kevin Nash has openly said that him, The Undertaker, and Steve Austin have all vowed to never watch AEW. So him going to an actual AEW pay-per-view would be him breaking his vow or his deal that he made with Austin and The Undertaker about not watching the shit. I mean, it's just be him just trying to get out of going because he didn't want to go and watch AEW. Do you blame him? Especially after what Darby Allin did? Did you blame him? It
should be more about the person that you worked with and you have a high level of respect for. They worked together in WCW for several years. They worked together even longer in TNA. They even worked together in WWE.
I'm just saying, there's a difference between Lex Luger going to this show for Sting and Kevin Nash not going to this show for Sting. Because it just shows, because honestly, it really does show, A, that Kevin Nash is closer to Triple H and he doesn't want, I think that out of respect to Triple H, he didn't want to do it. We don't know. It could just be him being, using it as a scapegoat. I know the fact that he said that he has boycotted AEW, and frankly, I don't blame him because I'm in the middle of the same one. I'm not watching that crap. But Lex Luger and Sting are best friends, so obviously Lex Luger is going to find any way possible to go to this thing. And unfortunately, and I hate to say this, but as of right now, who's going to be more recognized if they're on TV, Lex Luger or Kevin Nash?
I mean, clearly Kevin Nash.
So that's probably another thing, because Kevin Nash is probably like, he can't be on TV, and they're going to be like, well, you got to think about it. This dude's fucking massive. Lex Luger is going to stick in there because he's going to look like a wrestling fan. Nobody's going to be like, like the marks like you and I are going to be like, holy shit, there's Lex Luger. But, like the casual fan who only tunes in to watch Kenny Omega stick his fingers in dudes' butts is not going to know who the fuck Lex Luger is. He's going to see Kevin Nash, and he's going to be like, hey, that's the guy from whatever, Magic Mac. That's the guy from Grandma's Boy. That's the guy.
Mike.
That's the guy from The Longest Yard.
Super Shredder.
That's Super Shredder. I love Kevin Nash.
Dude from The Punisher. The dude from The Longest Yard.
Yes. He was the best character in The Longest Yard. You can't argue that with me. I don't care what anybody says. I laughed. He made me laugh every time he was on the screen. Especially after he took the estrogen. But yeah, I thought it was great.
So Chris Brown says, speaking of John Cena, he said he's free the dates of Mania this year. I don't think we're going to see a Cena match. I think we're going to see something more akin to what happened at WrestleMania 32.
30.
I thought 32 was the one where he was injured and he helped The Rock out.
No. We're going to get
against the Wyatt family after Captain Wedgie got defeated by Dwayne.
No, they're going to do the same bit that they did at WrestleMania 30, where Hulk Hogan's going to go out there and call it the Veteran Stadium, brother. And then John Cena's going to.
Does. I hope I'm there when he calls it Veteran Stadium.
I'm telling you right now, if they were to do this and they had Hulk Hogan come out at WrestleMania 40 and do exactly what he did at WrestleMania 30, but instead of having Austin and The Rock interrupt him, they have like John Cena and Batista? No. John Cena and Randy Orton interrupt him. Because that would be the next generation. I mean, if Edge wasn't sitting, in AEW playing patty cake with the second biggest heel in wrestling, it could have been Edge and John Cena that did the thing with Hulk Hogan. Hell, if neither one of them was playing patty cake, we could have gotten Edge and Christian with the Hulkster at WrestleMania 40. But I think that's what they should do. They should bring in John Cena. If they're not going to have John Cena wrestle, and believe me, if his wrestling is anything like his match last year against Austin Theory, I repeat, do not want to see John Cena wrestle at WrestleMania. However, there is one exception to that rule. If they could somehow, some way, find a fifth person to team up with the Spooky Pals, so that it is of Damian Priest, JD McDonough, Dom Mysterio, Finn Balor, and a fifth guy to go up against the team of The Miz.
R-Truth, you mean, right?
No. They go up against the team of The Miz, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. So he would go up against DXY. He would team up with DXY, The Miz, R-Truth, and then R-Truth's like, I got us a fifth. I got our childhood hero, John Cena. And then Cena comes out as the fifth member.
Okay.
That's the only. It would either be that, or Cena has to go out there and do to somebody what The Undertaker did to him at WrestleMania 34.
Yeah.
Or Cena is out there and he's talking in the ring, and then we hear the strum of the guitar. Hello, I am Elias. And he returns.
I highly doubt. Highly doubt. I would love to see that, but
yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing Cena. I wouldn't mind. I really would like to see him do the bit with Hogan at the beginning of WrestleMania this year. And if they give him the right match,
Stadium brother with the Philly fanatic.
Yes, yeah.
And gritty.
That's what we need. We need Omos versus Gritty.
And didn't Gritty steal a title?
I think he stole the gold title from Snoop Doggy Dogg.
So, I mean, that's your tie-in right there. I think hey, maybe I'll see Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania.
Jay, all I'm going to say is that's the only way the Philadelphia Flyers are going to hold a championship is Gritty stealing the WWE title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Jay, think about this, okay? I want you to realize what you are about to embark on next month.
We are less than 1 month away. Less than a month.
Cousin Jay, let's do comparisons. So right now, you're on the verge of going to your first ever WrestleMania in Philadelphia next month.
Yeah, it's where Apollo Creed went against Rocky Balboa all those years ago, the most famous Philadelphia athlete.
Your main event for your first WrestleMania night one is going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. That is literally the 4 biggest names in professional wrestling right at this very moment going at it in a tag team match in the main event of night one. In comparison, when the Brainless One went to his first and only WrestleMania 29 years ago, as happy as I was, believe me, I was happy that I got to see my favorite football player who has been supplanted.
John Cena.
Favorite football player of all time until he's supplanted by the man who beat the Patriots twice, Lawrence Taylor. Go one-on-one with the Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow. So by comparison, you have the advantage there because your main event is so much better than mine, and it's not anything LT or Bam Bam Bigelow did. It's because it's not the star power. But on top of that, the heavyweight champion heading into WrestleMania for you is you can either take your pick of either Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins, which is incredible in its own right. But the man walking into WrestleMania 29 years ago when I went to WrestleMania was Diesel. The man that was so not over as world champion that he was the first world champion to not be showcased in the main event of WrestleMania. And not only that, I'm sure that no matter what happens, what match, unless you get Nia Jax, that you will not have a match that it was as disappointing as what Roddy Piper did to the Hitman and Bob Backlund at WrestleMania 11 to me.
Yeah.
Sad.
Very sad.
I hope, Jay, for your sake, for this WrestleMania, I hope that they start off night one with Jimmy and Jay Uso.
I think that would be a fun thing to begin and end with the bloodline. And
I do too.
I think with that. So we've been talking Hall of Fame. I think there are a couple other things we should touch on here. One name that's been rumored for the Hall of Fame, who we talked about last week on the podcast because of his reaction to the Shockmaster video. Oh, by the way, I did see the Dark Side of the Ring episode that was featuring John Tenta, the former Earthquake.
How was that?
I'd say it was a really good episode. I don't know if I would call it like Dark Side of the Ring. It was definitely a sad story about a man who just really loved his family and kind of got screwed over by the business. And, unfortunately, did not get himself checked up in enough time to stop himself from dying from cancer.
That's too bad.
But part of that episode, on a lighter note, they showed Haku after they had talked about the disasters, talked about them going over to WCW. They did talk about the Shockmaster, and Haku did stop laughing. He had never seen it. Never seen it ever. And
Such good shit.
yeah, but it is rumored that Haku, aka Meng, will be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. And I would say if it does happen, it is well deserved. He is not a main event level Hall of Famer, but well deserving of a Hall of Fame induction. And, you know, they brought him specifically in to this episode of Dark Side of the Ring because he and Earthquake, John Tenta, were over in Japan simultaneously, like learning sumo. So they knew each other from that. They knew each other in WWF. They knew each other in WCW, and they were friends.
They should troll if Meng does go in, Haku. They should troll everybody and have Chuck Norris induct him into the Hall of Fame. Because they say that the only man that Chuck Norris ever feared was Haku.
That's true.
And he is well deserving. And if we look at the Kali Coco Beware line, him just winning the King of the Ring is enough of a reason to put him in the Hall of Fame.
So the thing is he didn't really win King of the Ring. Like, when Harley Race went down with injury, they wanted to have a king in his place, and they brought Haku into the Heenan family and just more or less presented Haku with the King of the Ring trophy. And eventually he and Harley Race did go at it, and I believe it was Royal Rumble one year where it was the battle for the kingship. And it was more or less Harley passing the baton to Haku, who passed it on to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who passed it on to the Macho King, and all that sort of stuff after that.
That's irrelevant. Whether Haku won the King of the Ring to become the king or not is irrelevant because we've already found out that the greatest TNT champion in the history of AEW never won the title.
Christian.
The second greatest heel in wrestling. Now he's downgraded. He is moved down on the power rankings. I'm sorry. Something happened yesterday that has surpassed anything and everything that Christian Cage has done since.
Wait. To me, the Big Boss Man is the only one who has actually surpassed the dastardliness as a wrestling character that Christian has done.
I'm talking about right now. Nobody, and I mean nobody in the history of wrestling is a bigger heel than the Big Boss Man. That's going to be on my tombstone. It's going to say, "Here lies the Brainless One. The Big Boss Man is the greatest heel in wrestling history."
The end.
The end. Playa. But right now, Christian Cage was the best heel in the business until yesterday. One, Dominic Mysterio. First of all, congratulations to Dominic on getting married. You know, I heard it was a great ceremony.
She's always on top, though.
But I love the fact that not only was Damian Priest one of his groomsmen, and it was like, oh, look at all of Dominic Mysterio's friends from high school, and it's like, look at them all, and then here's Damian Priest. This like 6'8" monster that comes in, hey guys, I'm Priest, and I'm part of the spooky pals. And then it's like, how can it get any worse? And then fucking the Fiend face comes out, Austin Theory. But I think it was, it was great that I like the fact that those guys, it really shows the camaraderie. I love that aspect of wrestling where the guys are like, close to each other, as long as it's not in a blood feud like they did when Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns were beating the shit out of each other, and then they go to Saudi Arabia the first time, and these guys were just beating the shit out of each other with chairs. But here's a picture of them in front of the Saudi palace.
Wait.
But the thing I wanted to mention the most, because I thought it was just unbelievable. Dominic Mysterio became the first groom since November 13th of 2022 to get booed out of the building when he entered the reception.
Mm.
He got booed at his wedding.
Must have been like Ray at the 2014 Rumble.
He got booed worse than Ray did at the 2014 Rumble. I was like, this is great. I'm like, this is great. This is supposed to be the happiest day of his life, and he's getting booed out of the building like it's. I was like, maybe it's a delayed reaction. Maybe they're still booing Austin Theory. No, they were booing Dom. They booed Dominic Mysterio at his own wedding.
That's fantastic.
That. I don't care what Christian Cage does. He was not booed out of the building at his own wedding. And he embraced it. The kid is doing just. I'll admit, Jay, I've been against the kid. I was against the kid for the longest time when he first got to WWE, and it's like they're doing this as a Make-A-Wish thing for Ray because they're letting this kid wrestle. The kid is doing some incredible heel work. Let's be serious.
For a minute.
He is such a magnet for heat. The JD McDonough is starting to get some of that collateral heat because Dom is just killing it. He's absolutely killing it.
The modern day Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah. And that's
by the way, Ray came back.
With the single ugliest mask I've ever seen in my entire life.
And people still love him.
I love Rey Mysterio. I will never say a bad thing about Rey Mysterio, but that mask was hideous.
Yeah.
I thought his face was hideous, and then he wore that mask. I'm sorry, Ray. I don't care. I'm sorry. You're still the greatest luchador of all time to me.
Speaking of great heels, I have to give a lot of kudos to Drew McIntyre. The dude just, he is operating at a different level at this moment. He has been a heavyweight champion. He has been at the top of the mountain, and he is doing better than he's ever done. Specifically, there are a couple things this week where he beat the crap out of Rollins and more or less said what CM Punk said about Hangman Page to Rollins as he's beating the holy hell out of him. So, if you're a fan like us, you notice shit like that. And you're like going, Drew McIntyre, that's fucking great. Even better, as he's leaving the damn arena, the crowd is chanting for CM Punk and just going at Drew. Drew ends up putting on Cult of Personality and does a victory lap around the damn parking lot.
Just give him the title.
I mean, it was freaking brilliant.
Just give him the title. Just give it to him. Hand it to him. He doesn't even have to wrestle to win it. He's already earned it. Give him the title.
Yeah.
There it is. And you mentioned it. You said the second guy that could come out with John Cena to confront Hulk Hogan after he calls the Link Veteran Stadium. You can have CM Punk go out there. You're not going to find two better guys who really can't wrestle at WrestleMania to come out and confront Hulk Hogan and call him a dumb fuck for calling it the Veteran Stadium. I'm sorry. It's perfect. I need that. I just, you know what it is? This is to a point now, Jay, where every time I see Hulk Hogan, I don't pop because it's like, oh my God, I'm going to get the leg drop, the big boot, and all that shit, and he's gonna flex and do all the freaking coked out shit that he always does. No,
Brother.
now my thing is I can't wait for Hulk Hogan to come out, the man who is clearly solely responsible for the fact that this podcast exists and the fact that my fanhood exists.
Brother.
But now it's to the point where he's just a joke for me, where I'm just like, I can't wait for Hulk Hogan to come out here and win my brainless for the week by opening his mouth at WrestleMania. Dressing up like a swashbuckling buccaneer.
Well, hopefully this year that they've taken a cue from the interview that he just did. Hopefully he dresses up as John Wayne instead of like the Philly Fanatic or Gritty.
He's going to try to suplex the Balboa statue, isn't he? Lights out.
Well, I mean, he should.
I know they were trying to collaborate with Sylvester Stallone. If they get Stallone at WrestleMania 40, Hogan's got to be there. I don't care. Give me Hulk Hogan, Triple H, Nick Khan. Is Brother Love still there? Is that who I have to reach out to? William Regal, Shawn Michaels, whoever I got to talk to. I want Hulk Hogan there. If you want Shawn Michaels, if you want to be in the ring with Hulk Hogan, and like he pats you on the chest and you go flying into the 9th row, like you did at SummerSlam 2005, that would be even better. I just need Hulk Hogan going in there and making me feel like a really, really sad Hulkamaniac watching my hero as he completely obliterates his brain trying to figure out where the fuck he is. This is all because
Chris Brown in the chat says this year at WrestleMania that there is a leaked possible host for this year's WrestleMania. And it allegedly will be one Conor McGregor. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Clearly, one of the things they're doing between WWE and UFC at this point is cross-promoting. Conor McGregor is due back to have a return UFC bout after being injured for the past couple of years. What better way to promote it than having Conor McGregor on the show of shows in front of a ginormous audience for a couple of days? You know, that'll work. That'll get people like one. I mean, Conor McGregor is a polarizing dude, kind of a douche, but also a charismatic person.
I'm going to tell you why it's a bad idea, and it's kind of like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I don't want to see Conor McGregor at WrestleMania because Conor McGregor, once upon a time, wrestled a boxing match against Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, many years before he had that boxing match with Conor McGregor, wrestled in the match at WrestleMania against The Big Show. There's not really any other match other than John Cena versus Austin Theory from last year's WrestleMania that I want to talk about less than The Big Show and Floyd Mayweather from WrestleMania, I believe, 24.
What about Michael Cole versus Jack Swagger?
I mean, Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
Jerry Lawler can carry people to a wrestling match, including the man with the coal mine.
The man was wearing the antlers.
That was not the worst match. Michael Cole did everything in his power to make that match as funny and entertaining as he possibly could. The ending was stupid, but Jerry Lawler could still go at whatever age he was in his 60s or 50s at that point.
137.
137. Floyd Mayweather, the Big Show's carrying people in a wrestling match, but he's not carrying them in the way you're supposed to be carrying them in a wrestling match when you're in the ring with an amateur. I was trying to talk my friends out of getting that WrestleMania because I did not want to see Floyd Mayweather wrestle.
It was
a pretty solid WrestleMania. That match just tarnished it. It did the exact opposite of what Shawn Michaels and Tatanka did at WrestleMania 9.
Yeah.
I did not want to see Floyd Mayweather in a wrestling match at WrestleMania, and I didn't want to see the Big Show in the match either. Because God only knows that the Big Show could turn face or heel. Because who was supposed to be the face of the heel? Mayweather could even cut a freaking promo. I'll give that to McGregor. At least he'll be entertaining on the microphone. Mayweather can't even read.
Proper 12.
Won't taste the same again.
Mm.
That's what we need. We need him doing that little walk. I'm Floyd. I'm Conor McGregor.
So we did bring up the Hall of Fame. We brought up a few different things. This has some wrestling ties to it. Several wrestling ties to it. I'm extremely excited to see Mike Tyson knock Jake Paul the hell out.
I have never wanted to see somebody knock somebody's skull out of their skin more than I want to see Mike Tyson do to Jake Paul. In fact, I hope that after Mike Tyson shatters Jake Paul's face, that Jake Paul's moronic brother Logan gets in the ring and gets pissed off and Mike Tyson breaks his face. That would be the greatest night ever. Mike Tyson.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Mike Tyson at the age of 57 is going to box a match against Jake Paul. People forget, I don't care how old he is. This is still the baddest motherfucker on the planet. This is a man, and there's going to be people out there who are too young to remember what Mike Tyson was. This man is a bad man. He used to religiously knock people out in the first round. This is pound for pound, the single greatest boxer to ever get into the ring because you didn't want to get hit by Mike Tyson. And I want to see him hit Jake Paul so hard that Jake Paul reassesses every single thing he has ever done in his entire life. I am not going to watch it. I am not going to pay for it. I just want to see the clip of Mike Tyson shattering his face.
I happen to have Netflix. I hope they have the proverbial live stream shit together after some of the debacles they've had trying to do live stuff before.
Wait. It's on Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, so I already have Netflix. I don't even.
Yeah, you don't have to pay anything extra for it. So they have tried a couple times to live stream, and it has not gone exceptionally well. But what I'm going to say about this, clearly, this is them doing like the feeling out process, because guess what? By January, they have to have it figured out because WWE Raw will be live on Netflix. If they don't get their live streaming shit in order, that's going to be a complete disaster. Complete disaster. I think they're going to get their shit together because I think their partnership with WWE is going to say, hey, by the way, this is how you make it happen.
Make it happen.
We've been doing the WWE network for, at this point, 10 years. They just passed 10 years with the WWE network. They know how to do live streaming in WWE. WWE will make sure that Netflix does not screw this up. But I am so looking forward to Mike Tyson at AT&T Stadium, man. I hope Dak Prescott's there, man. And watch it what a real champion does when confronted by a douchebag.
That's not fair because the douchebags were the champions at 3 points during the 90s.
Right.
Fucking assholes. God, I hate the Cowboys.
I am so looking forward to this. Paul needs to be humbled.
I just, the fact that it's going to be on Netflix just makes it that much better because I am definitely 100% going to watch it unless it starts at like 3 a.m.
No, it's not going to. It's in the United States. They're not going to do that shit. Mike Tyson's too old for that. Maybe when he was in his 40s, maybe he would have done that. You know, like when he was doing The Hangover and when he was on coke, hanging out with Tony Khan.
I can't wait. Now that I'm going to be able to watch, I cannot fucking wait. Oh my god, I fucking hate those two. I love
Tim
Mike
is saying
Tyson.
he believes Donald Trump is a Cowboy fan. I would say erroneous. He's probably a Giant fan.
That doesn't mean anything. That fat fuck Chris Christie's a Cowboys fan. He was the governor of freaking New Jersey. That piece of shit was at a Giants Cowboys game, sitting with Jerry Jones wearing a Cowboys hoodie. I've hated that motherfucker ever since that day.
Ugh.
And it's going to be great too because Chris Christie's still going to pander for a spot as the head of sanitation in freaking Donald Trump's cabinet.
Yeah.
He's the only person that's more dangerous at a catering session than Cassius Ohno. If you don't believe me, I once saw a video of him standing on stage giving a debate and he fell through the stage. That I could actually confirm as opposed to PN News falling through the ring. I did witness Chris Christie fall through the stage.
Yes. I just watched the Triumph the Insult Comic Dog election special from, I believe it was Hulu in 2016. It would definitely be canceled if it came out today, but it's amongst the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Specifically, the Baron Trump part of it, where Baron Trump has his own children's book, and it's not a real Baron Trump, but like there's this part where he he says out loud, "Who do you have to bang to get a juice box around here?" And I quote.
Jay, the shit they were doing in the diner with Chris Christie, where they were talking about reinforcing the booths for him, I still have tears in my eyes when I laugh thinking about that because that was one of the funniest. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And fuck Chris Christie, he's a wannabe Giant fan. Hang on, Jimmy Jones. I'm going to go root for a team that doesn't win Super Bowls as opposed to being the governor of a state of a team that actually wins Super Bowls and not that green piece of shit team.
Hey, they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what has happened since the last time the Jets won the Super Bowl? Man landed on the moon.
And we did it again. Oh, wait. No, that was like a capsule.
Jay, they have a Giants Hall of Fame inside MetLife Stadium, and they have all the greats and the pictures and all that stuff, and they have the 4 Super Bowl trophies and the NFC Championship game trophy that I was there when they won, and then they got roughhoused by Baltimore. I can only imagine what the Jets Hall of Fame looks like, because God only knows that in the Jets Hall of Fame, it's that one lonely Super Bowl trophy that's got like a freaking foot of dust on top of it because nobody's touched it in like 800 years, and Joe Namath's jockstrap. That's all they got in there.
Chris Brown saying, and we're going to land on Mars before the Jets win another Super Bowl. Hey, that means it could be in our lifetime.
No, it's not. The Jets are never going to win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. It's not going to happen. It's the Jets.
Wait, you don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to, go to the place of darkness and come out of the darkness into the glorious light? I mean,
Jay,
he did so much for the Jets last year. I mean, right now it looks like the Red Sox are replaying what happened with Aaron Rodgers on the Jets.
Jay,
he signed some high-priced people, and Aaron Rodgers played more snaps than what the Sox are getting.
Jay, I'm telling you this right now. The Red Sox are so bad, I don't even want to pay for my free MLB package to watch the Red Sox this year because it's too expensive to watch them be this bad and not have to pay for it. I can't. They're going to be bad. I can't. I didn't get it last year. I watched one Red Sox game, and I watched Devers hit a home run and beat the Yankees, which is all I needed to see.
Yes.
Because there's no better feeling than watching the Red Sox beating the Yankees. Nothing against any of my other teams. No better feeling in sports for me is better than watching the Red Sox beat the Yankees.
Yeah.
I say this with a Giants hat on my head. And even when they beat the Eagles, and believe me, when they beat the Eagles on the last game of the season, it was tremendous. No better feeling for me than when the Red Sox beat the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, as far as WrestleMania goes, we have a few matches officially booked. We have another match that is about to be officially booked. Gunther will be facing whoever wins a gauntlet match, which will take place this Monday on Raw. Storyline-wise, it feels like Chad Gable needs to win this thing. Do we think we're going to get Chad Gable versus Gunther? To me, it feels like it would be like overdoing it if you have the long-term title lost with Roman Reigns and Gunther at the same show.
No, because
even if they're on separate nights, it would feel like it would be wrong. Like, I don't think they should take the titles off both of them more or less simultaneously.
I don't see that being an issue because it's WrestleMania 40. If this was like WrestleMania 32 or something like that, then yeah, I can understand that. But this is WrestleMania 40. And a lot of times, if you go back and look at all the WrestleManias, a lot of times WrestleMania is when they did the reset on all the championships. And long title reigns were ending at WrestleMania.
I'd rather see them take the title off Gunther when they do the show in Germany.
I think that it depends on who he ends up fighting at WrestleMania. And coming from the 6 people who are in this match, Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, Chad Gable, Sami Zayn, Bronson Reed, and I'm missing the 6th person.
I mean, I would not mind seeing another Bronson Reed versus Gunther match.
I wouldn't be upset seeing Sami Zayn and Gunther.
Right.
There's any of those guys, honest to goodness, any of those 6 guys I'd like to see wrestle Gunther. I want to see Sheamus wrestle Gunther the most. I really think it should be Braun Breaker because Braun Breaker is the last person to have pinned Gunther, so it makes sense there. But honestly, between the two, between Roman Reigns and Gunther, I think Gunther has the best chance of retaining at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So there's that. And then one thing that's been fun on commentary is Michael Cole has been talking often about how Valhalla has not been wearing the antlers. Michael Cole fulfilled his boyhood dream this week and wore the antlers on commentary as Valhalla brought them out for the leader of the coal mine. What do you have to say about that, Brainless One?
Sarah Logan likes Michael Cole more than Bayley does.
I still want to see Michael Cole versus Bayley.
I want to see Michael Cole versus Bayley at WrestleMania. I think it was a nice little thing and everything, and I wouldn't think too much into it. I actually more applaud Michael Cole for acknowledging Sting for his last match on Raw. I actually applaud him for that and saying it was a tremendous match and everything, and him, Pat McAfee, mentioned it. I'm actually more happy about that because, honestly, Sting deserves it. Sting deserved to have his flowers, and I cannot believe that we've gone this deep into the podcast without even talking about F.M. Marks Hall of Famer Sting's last match of his career, where he actually won.
Right.
That was going to be my lock, the Bucks winning against Sting and Darby Allin. But Sting had his last match of his career. It wasn't terrible. I didn't watch any of it because it's the Bucks, and I don't want to see. If I want to watch a whole bunch of super kicks, I just go watch Shawn Michaels' greatest hits. But my biggest issue I had with the match was the glass spots. We get it. CM Punk didn't want to do the real glass spot, and now you guys are just beating the death out of it. Because this is now not the first time. Because this is what got CM Punk fired. Was because Jerkoff did this shit. And then you guys had another glass spot recently. Then you had 2 glass spots at the pay-per-view. And Darby doing the swanton off the top rope onto the piece of glass outside. And the glass is shooting everywhere. And AEW has the audacity to post a sign that says any kind of projectiles and stuff like that happens in the match and hits you, you're at fault. So what you're saying to me is that if somebody is in the crowd We just had the person who was suing WWE because the fireworks at WrestleMania made him deaf. Even though they tell you not to go there and this is going to happen. I am not going to go to a wrestling show and have one of these dumb fucks do a wrestling spot in glass and have it shatter and spray in my face. And of course I could sit by ringside. It's not like they sell tickets enough to sell, for the ringside tickets to be sold out. I could just go to freaking, I could go to Buffalo Wild Wings and get a cheeseburger and get 4 free tickets. That is so stupid. You're not liable? That doesn't make it right. And what is with all these fucking glass spots? Did you see Darby Allin's back? It's all fucked up. This is stupid. This is why I don't watch it. It's not just because of the fact that the Young Bucks are a bunch of freaking dickholes. It's not just because of that. It's because this is the shit that they give me. You give me an exploding ring of death that was so freaking terrible that I thought Doink the Clown was going to make an appearance. That's how bad it was.
He's dead.
You got freaking Jon Moxley getting dropped on his head twice after getting concussed in a match.
Dick nuts.
You got freaking skewers sticking out of your head in wrestling matches, pizza cutters. I don't want to see this shit. I don't want to see Darby Allin take a freaking swanton bomb off the top rope and land on a piece of glass. The only thing that's separating his body from hitting the concrete outside is a piece of glass that's breaking as he makes impact. It's stupid. This is the stupid shit they fucking do, and I'm tired of it. Because I've been saying it before. Somebody is going to get hurt, and they're going to be fucked. Because it's going to be one of these stupid glass spots because the Hardley boys have a freaking obsession about this shit. They have a glass fetish with Jungle Jerk. One of these times you're going to do one of these moves, and somebody's going to get hit in the eye with a piece of glass, and Tony Khan's going to be fucked. Because they're going to find out it was the EVPs that were involved in this match, and that's when it happened. It's either going to be that or one of the wrestlers is going to die in the ring, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. And I'm not talking about Ric Flair. This is just, it's ridiculous now. The only and to add on to this, they had Sting's sons, who one dressed up like Surfer Sting, bro, and the other one dressed up like Wolfpack Sting. And it was just, and I'm going to say they did the splashes, and Surfer Bro Sting son definitely missed one too many practices just to do that one move. And Wolfpack Sting's son, I swear I thought was going to overshoot it and end up in the third row.
My God.
I love Sting. Sting will forever be my favorite WCW wrestler of all time. And it's not just because of the fact that he was just fun and entertaining, but he did everything in his power to make Clash 13 as watchable as he possibly could with that god-awful magic show that we got from the Black Sting.
Hey. The whole show is completely watchable.
Jay, there's not enough weed in the house for it to be watchable. I still watch it every time.
So good.
Because there is actually enough weed to watch that show.
So good.
But I mean, kudos.
When I was younger, the Hardy Boys, in their matches with the Dudley Boys and with Christian and Edge, I enjoyed watching them. Because I didn't have the perspective of somebody who's like, oh, wait, that's really screwing up their body. Like, this is not a long-term sustainable thing. Oh, by the way, all of those people I'm mentioning have larger bodies that are probably more capable of dealing with the repercussions of the crap they were doing. Darby Allin weighs a little bit more than Marco Stunt wet. He may be okay for the moment now. In 5 or 10 years, it's just going to be sad.
Yep.
I'm glad he was able to get up. I'm glad he was able to finish the match. it was a stupid spot, unnecessary. People may talk about it, but when they go and see him at conventions in 20 years and remember that, but they're going to see him like in a wheelchair, it's going to ruin the memory of like, oh, that great spot. Oh, he can't walk anymore. It is not worth it. Like, as much as I'm like on holy shit, these days it's more of like, holy shit, why did you do that? Not holy shit, that was incredible. It's like, holy shit, why did you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand the unnecessary spots that they do, and they do it so much. It takes a lot of the luster out of it when they just keep trying to do the most retarded shit they possibly can each and every week. It's just disheartening. It really is, because it loses its luster. Now I don't even want to watch this shit anymore. And I feel bad because I like Danhausen. And I like Orange Cassidy, and I like Eddie Kingston, and I like Claudio and Daniel Bryanson. And Samoa Joe. There's a lot of guys I like in AEW, and I want to watch it, but it's like I can't do it because this is the stupid shit they do every single week. There's no storylines, there's no booking rhyme or reason behind any of the booking. The women's division is god awful, and guys get lost in the shuffle, and it's basically
it's coming Wednesday.
Is it going to be boss time?
I think so, and they're not going to sell as many tickets as they did last time. Congratulations to Mercedes Moné, a.k.a. Sasha Banks, for duping so many people into thinking that you're a draw.
I love the fact that she came out and said that she had to do what she had to do in WWE. You're Tony Khan's problem now, bitch. I'm not going to be nice anymore. I'm not going to be nice. I don't have a nice thing to say about Sasha Banks. I don't want to ever see her back in WWE ever again. She has not done anything for me to be, okay, you deserve to be the way you're acting. Okay? Why? Because you're Snoop Dogg's cousin? Why? Because you were part of the 4 Horsewomen in WWE? You're not Charlotte Flair. You're not Becky Lynch. And by all accounts, you're definitely not Bayley. You are the Peter Criss of the 4 Horsewomen of WWE.
Nobody wants to be Peter Criss.
Thank you. I have never been less excited for anybody's debut for a new wrestling company like I am for Mercedes Moné and AEW. I don't care. All I want to see is that place completely implode in the next 6 months because she's not going to get her way and she's going to be upset about it. Especially when she's fighting on Rampage in 6 weeks against Willow Nightingale. Yeah?
Yeah. On top of that, with AEW, we did have a return. Not 100% why we got the return, unless this is part of a storyline. But Kyle O'Reilly, after 20 months on the shelf, after having neck fusion, I believe it is in his right arm, he returned during Revolution. So this now means that most of the Undisputed Era, outside of one 6,000-year-old man, has returned. And Lord knows that 6,000-year-old man can reappear at any point in time. I mean, Bobby Fish, forever young. You know, he's 1-0 in boxing, at least, that we know of. We know that he defeated Abraham Lincoln, nearly, let's see, that would be like 180 years ago in a wrestling match. He taught, Frank Gotch how to wrestle. He was there when Cain and Abel had their moment, where Kane killed his brother, Bobby Fish was there because Bobby's like the seventh brother. Like there was Seth, and then it was Bobby. And Ric Flair was there too, and that's when they named Dirt.
Woo!
Tim said, fuck Sasha Banks, by the way, 3 times. Almost like Beetlejuice. You say it 3 times.
And by
I
the
wonder
way,
if she appeared in his house.
If anybody's wondering how Kane was able to kill Abel, he chokeslammed him.
Yes.
And Tombstone
and it was
Piledriver.
Bobby Fish that counted him out.
And then he swam away.
Yep. By the way, this is a fact that has not been heard yet, but Bobby Fish actually invented the fishing pole.
Well, he had to make it easier for people to catch him so he could wrestle.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
I mean, it made complete sense. Like, I didn't hear about this. So when he's on the hieroglyphs, in Egypt, I think part of that is he was just known for that. He was a fisherman.
Yeah.
And then he became just, the greatest fisherman of all time. Like, quite honestly, I bet he and Blackbeard were in cahoots with each other.
And Genghis Khan.
And I bet he and Captain Morgan were best buds too.
Like I said, he was the 4th person off of the Mayflower when it landed on Plymouth Rock in 1820. Or 1620, I'm sorry. Sorry, 1620. Good job, Brainless One.
Yep.
That Bristol Eastern education keeps paying off each and every week.
It does. I'm glad that it's with us all the time.
Now, you had mentioned facts. I have gone through all of my notes for this week, and I have my top 10 list. A very unique top 10 list. So I wanted to touch base with you. Do you have anything else before I get into my top 10?
I have a couple other things. All right. Jim Ross has inked a new deal with AEW. So JR, clearly, again, wanting to get to his 50 years in the wrestling industry, has clearly been struggling for a little bit, mostly, due to health reasons. But Tony Khan still sees some value in him. At this point, I think JR's bigger value would be like some sort of coach, some sort of,
mentor,
something like that could, like, oh yes, this person's got it, this person doesn't have it.
Right.
Beyond that, like on commentary, he just isn't what he was.
No.
And if you bring him out for a special occasion, like, maybe it's all right, but at this point, hearing him on commentary, it's like listening to Joe Biden talk. He's got marbles in his mouth. The things he's saying aren't clear. He's not quite shouting at the moon like Joe Biden is at this point, but like, he's just not good.
No.
So he needs to be more of a coach, a mentor, a scout for AEW. But good for JR, continuing his career in professional wrestling.
Just don't have him do commentary if you're going to have him stick around for another year. Because bringing JR at this point back for commentary is like when the Yankees brought back Derek Jeter for that last year to bat 260 and have no range at short in his last year as a Yankee.
Yeah.
But good on JR. The only person in the industry as a commentary I've liked more than Jim Ross was Gorilla Monsoon, and that's it. But they're just kind of neck and neck because they're two of the greatest. Jay, we were so lucky a lot of fans at our age are very lucky that we were able to actually have the pleasure of having both Gorilla Monsoon and Jim Ross call wrestling matches and just kind of be a big part of our childhoods and our growing up as wrestling fans.
Herb Abrams, commentator.
Herb Abrams.
On the AEW note, though, Santana has officially been either let go, his contract is up, but he is gone from AEW. You know, he and Ortiz, when they came in with an awful lot of pomp and circumstance, an awful, a good name. They put on a lot of great matches, but clearly he and Ortiz just could not get along anymore. Santana got injured, was out for quite a while. They came back. They brought the team together for a very short bit and broke them apart almost immediately. And then once Santana defeated Ortiz, we never saw him again. So clearly there are a whole bunch of issues going on. I'm just glad that it didn't end completely childish, like many of the things in AEW do.
Well, let's see. I'm not going to be surprised when Mike Santana returns to Impact Wrestling.
Part of a new LAX or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I think the main last thing I have, we talked about this last week, the unfortunate passing of Virgil. Apparently, we were all duped. Every one of us, except the management team. It sounds like Virgil was actually in his 70s. It was believed all over the place that Virgil was 62 when he passed. But according to his management team, he was actually like 71 years old. Nobody checked on it. Nobody thought to call him on it. I'm guessing when he signed with WCW, with WWE, somebody in HR probably knew his actual birth date because I'm sure they had to have like a social security card or birth certificate, just to get them, into the system. But it's like, well, he couldn't have been getting social security. I don't think if he was, if he was saying like that, you want to talk about somebody messing with people. I mean, you're talking about he spent, since he was with the $1 Million Man, saying he was a decade younger than he really was. Good on him.
To realize that he was actually 40 during that match at SummerSlam with Ted DiBiase for the $1 Million Championship just makes it that much more impressive. And it kind of just goes to show, like, with people like R-Truth and Virgil who can get up there in the age that they were up there and still be as incredible in the ring as they are, it speaks volumes of what they are as athletes.
Yeah.
And the fact that I couldn't believe it, because like when I first saw it, because I saw the thing and it was posted that it was actually 1951 or 1952 he was born in, and I said, no, I must have gotten the wrong picture or something. And I was like, sorry guys, I think I got the date wrong, or they've just posted it wrong or something like that. Like how Fox News killed Frank Thomas on New Year's Eve.
Right.
Yeah, I'm back. Here we go.
But one thing about Virgil's passing is, they were asking for donations to have, a proper send-off for him. And Chris Jericho, as much as it seems like he's possibly done some really shitty things, the dude has oftentimes opened his wallet to help out other performers in this way. Jericho ended up more or less paying for the funeral expenses that were asked for by Virgil's family and or management. So Chris Brown in the chat saying, "Hey, Jericho gives 5,000 to the GoFundMe. What the hell about Ted DiBiase giving $5?"
That's why
all I'm going to say about the $5 thing from the $1 Million Man is the $1 Million Man may be going to jail soon.
Yeah.
And he possibly bilked a whole crap ton of money from the state of Mississippi. So he might not have a whole bunch of money to spend because he probably has to spend a whole lot of money on lawyers at this moment for possibly committing fraud and embezzling money from Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Brett Favre.
Favre.
So when he shows up to court, he could be like Kevin Dillon and there's something about what the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
Yeah.
Good shit.
But good on Chris Jericho for doing that, doing the right thing.
Yes.
And you know, the level of piece of shittedness with Jericho certainly is not to the level of Vince McMahon.
Well, let's see.
If the allegations are true.
Yeah. Let's see how it all plays out with Chris Jericho before we vilify him. Because I don't care what he does, he's going to stay in my Rushmore forever. I appreciate Chris Jericho too much, and he's, at the end of the day, when it comes to the wrestling community, he's one of the better dudes out there. Because he does this, like you said, he does this all the time with a lot of the wrestlers that need it.
Yeah.
That's how, because that was what happened with the guys from 2.0 and Daniel Garcia. They got into an accident, and Chris Jericho paid for all their medical expenses. Then got them all jobs in AEW, so.
Yeah. It is not always cut and dry whether or not you're a piece of crap.
Right.
So, all right. So, another note: a new AEW pay-per-view Dynasty will happen next month.
Hooray! So wait. So now AEW is doing pay-per-views every month.
They are going to have 9 of them now.
And in about a year or so, they're going to be at once every month, and this is going to be how the bullshit goes. And the only reason they're only saying 9 is because they do that stupid battle for the belts bullshit after, Rampage, Dynamite, Collision tapings.
Hey, I saw battle in Norfolk, Virginia, brother.
Yeah?
At the Tidewater Tide Stadium, brother.
Wasn't that the Scoop?
Yeah, it was at the Scoop.
Was that the Scoop? Okay.
Yeah, it was at the Hampton Coliseum Scoop. Brother.
Was there a tank out there from GX?
There was not.
Sad.
So, speaking of AEW pay-per-views, one thing I do have to bring up before we get into top 10s and all of this stuff. Why would you add another pay-per-view when you can't time out your show appropriately to let a man who's had a nearly 40-year career in the ring have his retirement speech in front of the pay-per-view paying audience? This is like when they had, DDP versus Goldberg for the heavyweight championship on WCW, and they ran out of satellite time. Tony Khan, for the love of Pete, Sting was singing your praises up and down, thanking you for all the great things that you did and allowed him to do in AEW. You couldn't time the show right to give Sting a bunch of minutes at the end to be able to say what he needed to say, not only to the fans in attendance, but the fans around the world. Instead, we had to wait until it came on YouTube the next day.
He's notorious for that. He just thinks that he can continue rolling over and people are just going to automatically say it. That's not how it works.
What he needed to do was to pay for more damn satellite time.
Well,
nope, pay-per-view's done at 11. It's like, are you effing kidding me?
They couldn't do it, Cousin Jay, because eventually they're going to have to give Trevor Lawrence a shit ton of money. if not soon. I think it might be this offseason. They gotta cut budget somewhere, so they have to get rid of people like QT Marshall and Kevin Kelly so they can afford Trevor Lawrence's new contract.
But QT Marshall came back.
Yeah, and they're probably on a discounted rate when he realized that nobody saw him as a superstar.
Superstar?
He probably went into Triple H's office like, hey, I'm a star. Who the fuck are you? I'm QT Marshall.
They've now made him the manager of catering while Cassius Ohno is there.
That's a tough job as it is.
It is. Huge.
Huge.
All right. And the last thing I really need to bring up. Rock telling people last week they needed to go home and smoke some more crack made me laugh. And my wife would not stop laughing for like a day. She's like, play that again. Play that again. Where did he say that? Why did he say that? Like, it took a little while for me to find the like full length clip, but like I had that clip that like 5 seconds in loop. And go home and smoke some more crack. In the way the Rock said crack. It wasn't crack. Crack. Heel Rock, even if it's fake heel Rock, is awesome. Because I mean, it certainly feels like we're going to have The Rock and Roman win in night one, and it feels like The Rock is going to be doing this all as a ruse to turn on Roman in night two. Right now, you know, between the fact that Rock went like this instead of like just doing the finger point like that, and Paul Heyman noticing.
Yep.
The dissension is going to be in the ranks where the wise man is going to be like, I'm not sure about your cousin, and Roman's going to be blinded by the blood.
I hope to God when this all implodes and Paul Heyman goes his separate way to go find his next protege that he's going to be the advocate for. No, he's got to go to Gunther. Nobody could present and don't get me wrong, Ludwig Kaiser is doing a tremendous job in the presentation of the introduction of Gunther each and every time he comes out there. But could you imagine the element of adding the wise man to the presentation of the ring general? It would be tremendous.
The greatest thing ever.
I think it would be a slam dunk, and I think that's what they should do. But what do I know? I'm just a brainless guy who co-hosts a wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Who the only time he's ever gotten into a wrestling ring was to get his picture taken with Rob Van Dam. Sober.
Yeah.
So does this mean it's time for our top 10 list, Cousin Jay?
Yeah.
Well, I have a very interesting top 10 list. I realize that today is episode 350 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, The F and Marks. And Cousin Jay and I have been doing this podcast since July of 2016. So it got me thinking. What about some of the things that happened or were going on in the wrestling? So I came up with 10 things that were happening in wrestling when our podcast first broadcasted in July of 2016. And we're going to look at some of the comparisons of what these look like now.
Okay.
All right. So number 10, Chris Jericho. When the podcast first happened, our first episode, the list of Jericho was not even a thought yet because it didn't come out until September of 2016. The greatest version of Chris Jericho is the list of Jericho, and you can't tell me otherwise. Number 9, when the podcast first started, the Usos were doing their Haka Samoan dance with the half-face paint type of thing and doing all the fun. And I remember mentioning on the podcast, I said, if there's a tag team that needs a character change, it's the Usos. And they did it, and now they're the best tag team in wrestling right now. You can't tell me otherwise.
Well, outside they're broken up.
Yes, besides that part. But the Usos went from being the Haka Samoans to the bloodline. I mean, think about the how they've come from where we were.
Main event Jey Uso.
Yep. Number 8. I can guarantee you this. It is one of the few things that was talked about not only on the first ever episode of the F and Marks podcast, but it has been mentioned almost as much as you know what when it comes out in the end of the podcast. And that is, I can guarantee you that on the first episode of the podcast, I talked about the Gronk spike from Braun Strowman to James Ellsworth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 7, The Rock in 2016, when the podcast was happening for the first time, gave us the cinematic masterpiece Central Intelligence. And here we are at episode 350 talking about how he's main eventing night 1 with Roman against Seth Rollins and Cody. Speaking of people from AEW, Tony Khan comes in at number 6. Tony Khan at the time was Chief Football Strategy Officer for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And his cocaine addiction was non-existent. Number 5, the podcast, 350 episodes. The podcast has been going on so long that there wasn't even a Universal Champion yet when we first started the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 4, The Elite was doing all sorts of stupid shit to ruin and disrespect wrestling back in 2016 when the podcast started. Actually, that one's pretty accurate for now, too, so that one's kind of a wash. Okay. Number 3, former AEW World Heavyweight Champion Malcolm Jacob Friedman. Or, I'm sorry, Maxwell. Malcolm, what the hell? Maxwell Jacob Friedman was a month away from being stooged out by Samoa Joe at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Talk about a difference in your career path trajectory in 8 years. Speaking of which, Cousin Jay, let me ask you this question. Do you remember who the WWE champion was during the first episode of the Effin' Marks podcast?
I mean, the easy answer would probably be John Cena, but I it's too obvious to do something like that. I'm going to say somebody like The Miz.
During the first episode of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the Effin' Marks, the WWE champion at that time now works in a different wrestling promotion where he beats up on people with garbage cans, skewers, and pizza cutters. And he works in the toilets.
Plumber Mox.
Dean Ambrose was WWE champion during our first ever podcast. Talk about a difference from episode 1 to episode 350. Now, mind you, we've gotten through 2 through 10. And granted, I could have mentioned stuff like Daniel Bryan was an authority figure, and now he's Bryan Danielson. You know, I could have mentioned the fact that Dominic Mysterio was getting booed at the arcade with his friends. The Undertaker was still wrestling quasi when we first started the podcast. John Cena was a full-time wrestler. AJ Styles has always been a GOAT.
Right.
But I gave you 2 through 10. What is the one thing that is numero uno of facts about episode 350 and episode 1?
Curtis Axel is still alive in the Royal Rumble.
Curtis Axel, during episode 1 of the F and Marks podcast, was still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. Just like in a little while, we will mention it once again.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, no matter what we do, no matter what we say, no matter how hard we try, it always ends up with Curtis Axel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my top 10. I'm just honestly, Jay, I'm actually impressed that we made it to 350. Mainly because of the fact that I thought we were going to get slaughtered outside of that high school in Norfolk after I made that one little post. And number 2, I thought I would have been canceled by now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 350, baby. Well, that's the list, so I guess that means it's time for the good,
the bad,
and the brainless.
Yeah.
All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
As I was saying earlier in the show, there were a lot of things that could have been part of my good for this week. I appreciate greatly the lengths that Tony Khan went to make Sting's, final match a big deal. Even if it, didn't hit on all cylinders. Clearly, Tony had a lot of respect for Sting and wanted him to feel, well respected, well represented in that last match. I could have gone with that. I could have gone with The Rock and his heel promo from last week. A couple other things that I thought were really good this week, but I have to just go with Drew McIntyre. The man is operating on another level at this point. The trolling, specifically with Seth Rollins, where he's calling him out like CM Punk called out Hangman Page during the brawl out press conference. And more or less, Drew McIntyre did it almost verbatim to Seth Rollins. And then being in the parking lot, playing Cult of Personality and chanting with the fans and trolling them. Just absolutely freaking brilliant. Drew McIntyre, you are on fire right now. You're on the run of your life. You deserve all the green that WWE gives you with your next deal.
Absolutely.
Drew McIntyre, you're my good.
I was going to give it to Drew, too. I really was. I really wanted to give it to Drew. However, Dominic Mysterio getting booed at his own wedding just goes to show you the masterful work that this kid has done as a heel to earn my good for this week.
Was his father at the wedding?
Oh, I'm sure he was, unless he got him arrested again. What do you got for your bad?
Again, this was a week of a lot of bad and brainless stuff going on within the wrestling ring. This, on most weeks, would have been a spectacular brainless, but I'm going to go with my bad this week, and it's Darby Allin doing the Swanton Bomb through glass onto a pillow made of concrete again, and continuing the damn match and saying, oh, by the way, I'm going to Mount Everest in a couple of weeks so I can plant the AEW flag, and I'm going to do a Swanton Bomb off the top of the world, and I'm going to get up as if nothing happened. What I think is going to happen, Tony Khan is going to sell, believing that it's a mountain of cocaine, but going to be sad to know that when they bring it back, it's going to be all melted and it's just going to be water. Going to be very, very sad for him.
Very sad.
But I'm going to go with Darby Allin for my bad this week. As much as I appreciate the effort and him putting the body on the line, it was completely unnecessary and stupid.
Yes.
As Randy Orton would say.
Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be surprised by this one, because for the 8th consecutive week, I have found a way to give those stupid nutsacks, the Young Bucks, my bad for this week, because that whole thing with them and Okada, I get it. Okada, I don't really blame you. You had guys that were looking out for you when you first started Impact Wrestling, so yes, I would gravitate towards them. However, in a situation like this, where their reputation is really not that strong in the internet wrestling community, probably not the best way. If you really wanted to do the heel work, attack Eddie Kingston. Attack Orange Cassidy. Go after Danhausen. Aligning yourself with those two fuckheads is not a smart move. So I give all three of them my bad for this week. 8 weeks, baby.
All right. In the chat, Tim has heel Rockets is good. Bad cutting Sting's speech off. Chris Brown saying his good was Seth after Raw, calling Wayne a piece of shit. Bad Darby Allin's glass spot, showering fans with glass. Endless wrestling fan for sending racist messages to Bianca Belair. And for my brainless this week, I am going to go with Tony Khan. Tony Khan almost got the trifecta this week for me. He almost got my good, my bad, and my brainless. But there were certain things that just edged out Darby as far as the bad. Edged out, all the love that Tony was showering with Sting, which I had great respect for, and allowing Sting to go out the way he wanted to. I almost wanted to put that for my good. But you do all those great things, and you don't give the man time to give a speech. If they ended up bringing him out on Dynamite, similar to what I would say WWE did with Ric Flair after he lost his match with Shawn Michaels, give him the night to talk about it. But that's not what they did. That was supposed to be a time for Sting to speak in front of the live crowd, the crowd where he really, or the area that he really broke through in the wrestling industry. Greensboro, North Carolina.
Woo!
And you didn't, they needed to allow the match to breathe and do its thing. They couldn't have cut something else in Revolution to allow Sting to actually address the fans without it being live on or being broadcast on YouTube hours after it happened. I mean, simple television production crap. Time out your damn show. If you haven't timed it out right, spend the damn money. You had a full arena. You had people buying a pay-per-view that wanted to see it, and you cut the damn, just like Goldberg versus DDP for the World Heavyweight Championship. People pay money. These are the things that make wrestling companies go under. Tony Khan, your production of Revolution and not giving Sting his time is my brainless this week.
I love it when some kind of video production thing ends up as your brainless, because I know how much it bothers you, and it just attacks your soul when it happens. And you know what? You're justified in saying this. Think about the fact that the production for WWE has gotten so much better now that they got rid of the Bucky Beaver, and the guy who used to run an ESPN is now doing the presentation. It looks amazing. Raw looks great. SmackDown looks great. And this just shows you that with Tony Khan and his inability to adapt and do all the things he needs to, just goes to show you that WWE will forever be the Yankees and AEW is the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I thought you were going to call them the Jets.
Well, I was going to keep it in baseball. All right. I mean, it's like, all right, AEW or WWE is the Pittsburgh Steelers and AEW is the Jets.
Okay.
I think that's a better comparison.
I mean, AEW, is also, they're the Jaguars.
Yeah, basically. My brainless for this week, I'm just giving it to AEW, just as a whole. And I'm telling you, you don't post. You post this thing where you're saying that you can get hurt and all this stuff, and if anything comes and flies and hits you, we're not viable for this. And then you have your executive vice presidents going out there and making glass spots where glass is flying everywhere. Poor woman in the front row got hit in the face with glass. But we're not viable for this because it's not our fault that they were sitting there and we decided to use glass in the spot. They're going to have a huge lawsuit because I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be just WWE. AEW is risking a lawsuit each and every week when they do this stupid shit, and they're trying to get themselves out of it. I'm going to tell you right now, Tony Khan does not have a Jerry McDevitt, okay? And your dad's only going to be able to pay for so much, and until you do something stupid or one of your wrestlers does something stupid and Chad's like, nah, pull the plug. All got to go. Bye-bye. Chad's a very smart businessman. He's going to cut ties when it comes to it. And if you keep giving them reasons, whether it's your unsafe workers doing matches and hurting one of their coworkers, or it's your workers doing the stupid spots that are totally unnecessary where somebody could get severely hurt, not good. So AEW, get my brainless this week.
All right.
Putting that little logo on there.
By the way, Tim said his brainless is Sasha Banks and her high opinion of herself. She's literally the Jeff Jarrett who can't draw a dime.
Just remember, Jeff Jarrett drew $30.
He did.
I love mentioning that. Anyway, if you like what you see, whether you are a first-time fan or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on the Twitter X, follow us on the Gram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, M-A-R-K-S, the F and Marks. If you'd like, follow and subscribe to us. We will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications so that when we go live, whether it's on the X, whether it's on the Facebooks, or whether it's on the YouTubes, you'll be notified that we are live so you can join in the conversation and talk about the sport we all love to hate, professional wrestling. And make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify so you can take the show on the road with you and listen in audio, or you can watch it as video on all of those platforms. Yeah. And I think that I believe is it. Nothing else to talk about. We are absolutely done. Nothing else. Nothing else at all.
Think so.
Wait.
Is this Curtis Axel? This is Curtis Axel. And this is a momentous occasion, Brainless One. Why is that, Curtis Axel? This is episode 350 of the F and Marks podcast. And it has been mentioned before that I have made more appearances than either of you two have on this podcast. I have been on now officially 349 of 350 episodes. That is impressive, Curtis Axel. Do you know what else is impressive? I sure do, Brainless One. That's because today, March 8th of 2024, at an astonishing 3,330 days, I, FM Marks Hall of Fame, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. So, for episode 350 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the Brainless One. Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everyone. You
Thanks
have
for
a
tuning
good
in.
week. Enjoy SmackDown, and we will chat with you later.
Yeah?
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 Yeah?